Billy back here with Broship of the Nerds, and today we are talking all about Elimination Chamber and Wrestlemania thus far. So Elimination Chamber took place in Perth, Australia, in a beautiful arena. The place looked gorgeous. They said that it had been 100 plus degrees earlier that week, so it had been really hot over there. Corey Graves celebrating his 40th birthday by getting to see people beat the hell out of each other. I don't think he'd have it any other way. A very, very good overall show. Some obviously results we expected, but setting up things. Kudos to Triple H, by the way. I know there's been a lot of negativity in wrestling, but I would like to say kudos to Triple H for long term storytelling. There are a lot of people who, my age and younger, maybe even or older even, who remembers the Attitude Era and how they do like a 2 or 3 year booking or plan overall, as long as no one got injured or got frustrated and quit. You saw long term storytelling. We're seeing that with the Bloodline story. We have Roman beat Cody by cheating with Solo, and then you have Sammy and Kevin fracturing the bloodline, making people split up. Now the Rocks come in, so long-term storytelling's good. I'm really glad they didn't go Roman and Rock. I think that wouldn't have been the best main event. So let's get into Elimination Chambers. So we have a hot crowd. When they go to other countries, the crowds are hot. I was at the last story, and then we'll get into it. I was at the Raw before Mania last year, where Cody and Roman went face to face and had a stare down to close the night out with Solo there, and the crowd was dead. I mean, like there were moments where people were asleep and they just were not into it. And it sucked because our section was like me, and I had a couple of friends with me. Jackrabbit was there, and he was not feeling well. So, but my other friend Viper was there, and we were trying to get the crowd into it, but we were setting up high. It wasn't like the one show I went to where I got the "He's Got Kids" chant going for Heath Slater when he was teaming with Rhino in the main event matches that were filmed before Monday Night Raw that time. But yeah, this was a very hot crowd throughout the show, and of course there are going to be up and downs to where they're not screaming the whole show, but there weren't too many dead points where there was just no reactions at all. So that was good. So let's start out here. We have the hometown hero Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae teaming up to challenge Asuka and Kairi Sane for the women's tag team championships. Now, Indy comes out with Candice. She gets the hometown pop. Indy does. She's tall. She's strong. Her and LeRae, their size difference, they pair up well. Indy at one point picks up Candice and drops her onto Kairi, and just the way they team is really cool. And they're getting cheered, and then Asuka and Kairi come out. They're cool looking. They're like, yeah, we're the Japanese badasses who are heels, and we're gonna soak in all the cheering you're giving to Indy because we're gonna beat the hell out of her and shut you up. And Asuka, and I like Asuka as a face or a heel because she always kind of walks that line anyways. That she's a face, she sort of gets cheered because she does things that tend to be a little bit heelish. Then when she's a heel, she'll mock people. It's just she's really fun and she brings a lot of personality to WWE. So this was a good little match, and I'm glad they did this the right way because I missed the kickoff matches. Because the thing is, the crowd gets in, you do a kickoff match, and then you give about 10 minutes until the actual official show starts. That way people have time to go to the restroom. They can catch the full match without missing anything. As soon as the match ends, as soon as the bell rings, they leave, they can run to the restroom, get a snack, whatever they need to do, and come back in. So this was great placement for a kickoff match because it wasn't followed by a match on the main card immediately after. They had some time in between. I really enjoyed this match overall. I would say it was, it's not a match that I'm going to rewatch and show my friends all the time. But I wrote down here, Asuka and Kyrie get the win. Indy gets the hot tag, and they did a good job of Candice and Indy. All four of these women did a good job of building to that hot tag, because she missed trying to get the tag like 2 or 3 times. It wasn't just like a lukewarm tag, it was a hot tag where they would cut her off a few times. I wrote down that Indy just needs more matches on the big stage. She has a lot of potential, and I really think that she is good in the ring with a little more time and more matches and a little bit more development with her character, I think she could be a bigger star. It's just she needs more matches. But Asuka and Kyrie were great heels here, and I enjoyed the match overall. So Asuka and Kyrie retained their championships, and we'll see what happens heading into Mania, whether they defend at WrestleMania on a kickoff or on the Raw or SmackDown beforehand, likely SmackDown. But okay match. Okay, then we head to the main card, and we kick off with the Women's Elimination Chamber match. Now, they did something a little bit weird that I didn't get. So they bring out the four competitors who are not going to start out. They bring out the four they're going to be locked in the pods. But then they bring out Naomi, and you assume, okay, Naomi's the first one not in a pod to enter the ring that's going to begin the match, so she should be number one. Nope, they made her number two. They made Becky number one. So I think what they need to do is have the numbers by their names when they're being introduced. Because to me, logically, the first person in that ring after the four go in the pod, the first person into that ring is the number one entrant, and then the second person coming on the ring is number two, because just like the Rumble, the person that's in the ring first can jump the person coming in. So technically, number one has an advantage on two. So that was just a small thing that it just bothered me a little bit, because I was starting to write down that Naomi was one, Becky two, and then they said, no, 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 Naomi's number two and Becky's number one. So Becky comes out with Naomi. The crowd's going hot for Becky. Becky and Naomi battle it out for a little bit, and they work well together. They do some fun stuff. Tiffany Stratton comes in, and she is over big time. She's the newest to the main roster here, but she is over with this crowd. This Australian crowd loves her. So she ate that up as much as she could. Let's see. Liv Morgan was number 4. The returning Raquel was number 5. And Liv just got back herself at the Rumble. So we've had 2 returns from injury here recently. And then, of course, Bianca Belair comes in number 6. There were a lot of great spots in this match. There was a spot where Liv jumps off the pod. Just a lot of craziness happened. It was awesome. Naomi was the first one eliminated by Stratton. Kind of a surprise that Naomi goes out first. I didn't expect her to win, but I was kind of surprised. And Stratton, I wrote down here, Tiffany Stratton was crowd favorite. She's impressive in an athletic way. She still has some things to learn in the ring. Some of her timing on some of her moves was a bit off. It was just like her opponents, I should say, really had to work with her to set up the moves. And that's not a bad thing. It just, she needs more matches, like Indy needs more matches on the main roster, but she'll get there. She's very athletic. She's very popular with the fans. I think she could be a main event star. They just need to get her more matches under her belt. So Naomi goes out first by Stratton. And then when Liv eliminates Stratton, the crowds are chanting BS. This is bullshit. And that was kind of fun because the Australian crowd was hot for this match. So after Naomi and Stratton went out, it goes for a little while longer, and Bianca hits her finish, the KOD on Raquel. That was impressive because Raquel's a strong, tall woman. And Bianca pins her, and then this match goes down to the final 3. You got Bianca, Liv, and Becky. Well, Liv gets the quick whirl up on Bianca, eliminates her, and within seconds of being eliminated, Becky catches Liv off guard and beats her. Now, you had to find a way to get Bianca out of there if she wasn't going to win. And if you made it come down to Becky versus Belair, then it goes about 50-50 because your fans like both of them. So by eliminating Belair first, I think that was a better call. I will say Liv is still better chasing the title. I liked her as champion, but she is very good. She made it to the finals in the Rumble the last 2 years, and she's runner-up in the Chamber this year. So I think Liv is going to be getting a run in a while. But Becky gets the win here. Great match. A lot of athletic things done. Becky goes over, and we learned that obviously Becky's going to face the winner of Rhea and Nia Jax later on tonight. So Becky has a match at Mania. Great. She's a star. The fans like her. I like her. I'm looking forward to see how the match does. All right. So then the next matchup, we have the Judgment Day, who are defending the tag team championships, undisputed tag team championships, against Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. And this Triple H is building up the tag division. I will say DIY, I've talked about before on this channel, I believe. They're not as over as they were in NXT, which sucks because Johnny Takeover was amazing. He had great matches with Andrade. He had great matches with Tommaso Ciampa. So I'm hoping that they can regain some popularity on the main roster here because Johnny is really good. He just hasn't found his footing yet, or they haven't found the right rivalry for him to really get over. I wouldn't mind seeing him and Champa go at it again, or Andrade, or whoever, but somebody to help get Johnny and Champa over. Anyways, so Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate come out, and at first they're getting cheered a little bit, but then as the match progresses against the Judgment Day, and Dominic comes in and he takes the microphone away from Mike Rome, and as soon as he grabs a mic, he's getting booed out of the building. It's incredible. And he introduces the Judgment Day, and he's booed the whole time. In fact, they're booing so loud he can only introduce one member at a time. That's how loud he's getting booed here. He introduces Balor, gets booed, has to take a break, and then he comes back up and introduces Damian Priest. This was a good match. Athletically, Pete Dunne, I remember his NXT days whenever he was the longest reigning champ until Walter, now Gunther, defeated him, and he's a hell of a wrestler. And he's still really young, but Pete Dunne's amazing. And Tyler Bate, I hadn't really seen much of him because I sort of quit watching NXT after it got rebranded and stuff. But I will say that they're a good team. They have good teamwork in here. Dunne doing the joint manipulation thing. It just looks brutal. Balor and Priest know how to sell. Dominic gets thrown out after he saves Judgment Day from losing the tag belts by putting, I believe it was maybe Priest's foot under the rope. I don't know which one, but this felt. I wrote down this. Oh, Dominic's got "This is a wanker" chant, which was hilarious. But they when Dominic got thrown out, the fans were cheering something, but it got blacked out because of the cussing. The thing is that we're wrestling fans, we're kind of used to cussing, so it's whatever. But because the fans get heated, like I remember there was a takeover where Champa and Gargano are wrestling, and Champa takes off Gargano's wedding ring and throws it across the room, and the fans start cheering "F you, Champa." It was awesome. So I love those organic moments where the fans sort of take over the show in a good way, where it's heat or a pop that slows down the show, where the wrestlers have to acknowledge it for a second. So that was kind of cool to see. So Dominic gets thrown out to a big, big, big pop, and the Judgment Day end up retaining. I wrote down here, love this match. It felt like a brawl type of tag team match. It was a very much fighter matchup, and the style went well. Balor and Priest retain, and you wonder who they're going to face headed either right before Mania or on the Mania card one of the nights, because they're incredible. I mean, they could do a multi-team match and run it back with Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, and then bring in DIY and maybe another team like AOP and make an elimination. This was a well done match. It was a good spot too, because after a chamber match, you kind of need it to come back down to a normal match. That was good, and I like the way the Triple H is focusing on teams. Next, we have the Grayson Waller effect, and Theory's out there, and he introduces Grayson Waller, who gets a hell of a home country pop or continent, whichever way you want to phrase it. And then Seth Rollins get introduced, and then Cody gets introduced. And Seth Rollins got the Doctor Strange glasses where he has the third eye, which is hilarious. And loud pop here for both Rollins and Cody, two of the biggest stars. And Waller normally annoys me, but I'm starting to kind of get him a little bit more. He's highly entertaining while he's being annoying. So that was fun. It's not like I want him to. It's not like go away. It's more like, oh my god, this wanker, as they would say in Australia, but they wouldn't call him that. But he did a good job here. So did Theory with this, and so did Rollins, and so did Cody. It's set up, Rollins saying he's about to be medically cleared, while he's wearing crazy pants, which is what he's known for. And then Cody is challenged The Rock, so there could be a matchup here where Cody faces The Rock down the road. I would love to see that one. And so you get Cody and Rollins over. They attack Theory. Waller sits back because you don't want Waller to get beat up in his home country. That's not going to go over well with that crowd. So you heard the babyface's momentum. So they were smart, and Waller just backing up and saying, "Go ahead, do your thing." That was really cool to see. But yeah, it creates intrigue for what's going to happen next on the road to WrestleMania. Will The Rock respond to Cody? How will he respond? Will there be a match? Will this be a SummerSlam match down the road? Who knows? And then we get to the men's Elimination Chamber matchup. And we introduce the people that are going to be in the pod. Logan Paul, Orton, Lashley, Owens are all going to be in pods. LA Knight's number one, Drew McIntyre number two. LA Knight gets a massive pop on his way into the ring. McIntyre, the heel here. They square off, and they're both in. All six of these guys are very good and very unique in their own way. They have different styles, which makes the match work better. They're not too many guys with similar styles, which I like. Owens comes in at number three. He's all fired up. I mean, before the match, he gets fired up, and he comes in and wrestles. And there was a point where Drew's getting his head smashed into Owens's pod, and Owens is punching the glass every time McIntyre's head hits the glass. So that was really fun to see. So you got Owens comes in. Bobby Lashley comes in at number four, and he really caused some damage in this matchup. See, at one point he spears Logan Paul through one of the pods. That was incredible. He kind of gets. I'm not gonna. How do I say this? He's a main event star, but sometimes I think people forget about him. He's great, and physically, from a physical standpoint, he's one of the most impressive wrestlers they have. But character-wise, sometimes I like that he's with the Street Profits. We'll see where it goes. So Lashley comes in, Randy Orton comes in. Of course, the crowd was hot for him on his way down before he even got into his pod. He posed on top of the pod and everything. That was cool. And then Logan Paul comes in at six, and everybody's down. But then KO gets up right as he's about to enter and opens the pod, and Logan tries to close it, and they both go in the pod together. And Owens beats the hell out of him for a bit. Okay, so elimination order here. Bobby Lashley is eliminated by Drew McIntyre. LA Knight gets attacked by AJ Styles with the chair, and then a Styles clash on the chair, to which Drew takes advantage of and pins him. So you have Lashley and Knight eliminated, both by Drew. Owens eliminated by Randy Orton. That was pretty cool to see. Logan Paul also eliminated by Randy Orton. So Orton's got a lot of momentum going, but he's selling his back, and you worry because the way he made it look, you don't know if he actually tweaked it a bit or if he was really just selling it very well. That's the one scary thing about a veteran like Orton. When he sells like that, you don't really know quite what's going on, if it's an injury or angle, or if it's a legit injury, or if it's just selling. So we get them down to Orton and Drew. They're both really intense. Orton just coming back, Drew wanting the main event spot. They go back and forth here. Orton finally hits an RKO. Whenever Drew is looking at him like, this is pathetic, you need to just stay down. Orton pops up RKO, but then Paul, as Orton pops up and celebrates after the RKO, like he did with Seth Rollins and like he's done before, where he kind of, uh, whatever you want to call it, he kind of celebrates, then pins. Well, that was not good because Paul was still in there and he had the brass knuckles on. He lays Orton out. Drew rolls over, pins Orton 1, 2, 3, and Drew is heading to face Seth freaking Rollins at WrestleMania. It's what will be a good matchup there. And then finally we get to our main event. Nia Jax comes down to the ring, and the women's world champion Rhea Ripley comes to the ring, and she gets a massive pop. And they go over to her family, and they're emotional for her main event, as they should be, because she's in her home country and she's awesome and has a lot of character to her. And I think she's one of the better ones to wrestle in a while, men or women, either one. Rhea's awesome. Rhea comes in there, and Nia looked incredible in this match. She did some middle and top rope stuff. She was very athletic. She did some cool moves. I mean, she's already strong, and she's one of the people that you could believe giving Rhea a fight. Charlotte, Rhea, Nia, all at their own level, Becky. But Nia is one that can match Rhea for strength, and this was a really good match. So give Nia her due here. She proved herself to be awesome in that ring that night. So these two go back and forth for a while. I mean, Nia is beating the heck out of Rhea. Rhea will get a little bit of a comeback, and then Nia shuts it down. And then finally, Rhea does get her with the Riptide 1, 2, 3 and retains. This was a great way to close the show because you're giving your hometown the biggest star, I would say, right now from Australia, because you got Bronson Reed, who, congratulations to him, just had his wife just had their first baby, but that's why he wasn't on the card. Rhea retained. She's had the championship as a Mania. It'll be a year. Well deserved. This was a heck of a match, though. Like I said, Nia, Rhea, both they had good ring chemistry. Nia was more. She has better mobility, and she really showed what she could do. So I'm impressed. So I wrote down. Now we're going to get into the second half of the video. They closed the show. Now we're going to talk about the 4 WrestleMania matches officially announced thus far and where I would place them on the card as of now. Okay, so for night 1, I would have Seth Rollins defend against Drew McIntyre in the opening of night 1 because you want to get the crowd hot. They had the year where Rollins won the championship to open Mania. I think if you had Rollins and Drew open the show of night 1, that'll get over. And that'll be a fun match for the fans to really get their energy up and get them in. But yeah, I think Rollins and Drew opens night 1 for the World Heavyweight Championship. And then night 1's main event, the Women's Royal Rumble winner, as it should be, Bayley challenging Io for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And the Damage Control story has been going on for a long time. So I think the way this has been built, we still don't know where Dakota Kai officially aligns. There's a lot of theory that she's going to turn on Bayley. I'm hoping that's not the case. I am actually hoping that Dakota stays a face because I liked her as a heel. But because she's been heel so long, I think it's time for the change. So I think making Bayley and Dakota the faces and Io, Asuka, and Kairi the heels works out better. But yeah, Bayley and Io should close night 1 to make history. It'll be a heck of a matchup. Night 2, of course, Cody and Roman Reigns main eventing with the WWE Championship on the line. And this is where the long-term storytelling comes in. If Cody finishes the story here, he's so over. And I would say him and Roman are your 2 biggest stars in WWE. You got Punk and Rollins and Drew in there. Owens and some other people, LA Knight, Logan Paul. Oh, one last thing I will say about Paul, he does deliver. So whenever he shows up, he does deliver in his matches, whether you like him or not. But Cody and Roman closes night 2, and then I would open with Rhea and Becky because that'll be a hell of a way to start a show. And who I would think would go over, the Seth Drew one could go either way, to be honest. If Seth retains, I say there's a high probability Priest cashes in and beats him. If Drew wins, I don't know. And then Rhea and Becky, I would have Rhea retain, and then I would think, with the way they've been building this thing, Rhea retains until the next Mania to take on Bianca Belair. They've been teasing that match for a while. So if you have Rhea retain against Becky, you can work towards Rhea and Bianca for next year's Mania. And you can do something like Jade and Becky or Jade and Charlotte, which is where I think they would go, be Jade and Charlotte. And then I would put Bayley over Io just because I think it's her time to shine. So Rhea retains, Seth possibly retains, Bayley wins, and Cody wins. That's the route I would go with that. But I'm excited. It looks like Jimmy's going to face Jay. That could be put anywhere in the card. Logan Paul and Orton looks like it's going to happen. Of course, you do need a tag match or 2 because you don't want all singles matches, although you could do that. But for 2 nights, I think they're going to have to throw in a couple of tag matches. You could do Chelsea and Piper teaming up to take on Kairi and Asuka, and then make it like a 4-way elimination. That's one thing I will say about WWE. They can put on a show. The one thing I would like to see happen on occasions, again, are elimination tag matches to where, you have 4 teams, and when one member's pinned, that team's gone. So doing more elimination matches. That's the one thing I do hope that WWE push towards. But I would give this chamber. I don't like to rate individual matches. I just like to look at would I show my friends it. So like one of my friends that watches wrestling very sporadically, if he or intermittently I should say, if he wanted to come over and watch a show with me, I'd show him Chamber and we watch it with him just to see his reaction. Overall, I would say it's a 3 out of 5, 3.5 maybe. They had some great matches. They had some stuff set up for Mania. The crowd was hot. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Forget what I said. Sorry about that. 4 out of 5 because the results, while predictable, were fun. They had a fun time getting there. And it's not necessarily who's going to win, it's what's going to be set up along the way. You know, Knight and Styles now have beef. Logan Paul and Randy Orton now have beef. It's what's for dinner. Rhea and Becky are set up. Cody and Roman, more tension there. That's set up better. Rollins and McIntyre sort of writes itself. That's set up. You didn't really have any shenanigans with the women's match where people cheated, but you could throw some of these women together and make a fun match. I'm just curious as to what Gunther's doing, Bianca's doing. Those are the two I'm kind of like, okay, what are they going to do for them? Because they both are going to need a big Mania match. Well, that's all I have. The next time I come to you for wrestling, unless big news happens, uh, Jackrabbit and I, health pending, are planning on getting with Viper and watching WrestleMania Night 1 together. Don't know about Night 2, but we're definitely going to watch Night 1. Either way, I, myself, or Jack and I are going to have a review for you of WrestleMania. Take care, guys.